Hey, what's going on? Is Doug Cunnington here, and hopefully you can hear me. I see we have Carl on, we have Samuel, and welcome. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. This is the last live stream for the Doug Show in 2020. So it's the 30th. So we of course have another day in the year, but I'm not going to go live tomorrow. So today is the last one. I'm going to cover a few things like a recap of the year. I pulled some highlights from some of the interviews that I did, wide ranging. There's all sorts of folks we're going to hear from. And then I'll tell you a couple of the things that are coming up for next year in 2021, which is just like a week away. So we're going to be talking about that stuff. Carl says you can hear me. We have Sandro on, David's on, Jeremy as well. So what's going on with the crew out there? I know I haven't been, publishing as much on the blog lately, and I've sort of been focusing on podcast and YouTube, which has been good. There's a lot of conversation and some back and forth. And if you haven't checked out, for example, the podcast, there's a lot of like long, in-depth questions and answers. A lot of times, in fact, episode that's going to come out tomorrow, it was a question and a comment based on a previous episode, which was triggered by an email. So there's a lot of back and forth, and we can go really deep as far as the podcast goes, kind of like these sort of live sessions here. So welcome, everyone. I see Only Skill Gaming. So thanks for hopping on, and I will answer some questions for sure. I usually will hold those until the end, but Only Question Gaming, I can go ahead and look at your question now. I'm back in my normal office here, so I have my full screen, which is super helpful to have that because I can put Only Skill Gaming, their question right on here. Sir, I have done some keyword research. How can I confirm that I've done it right? That's a good question. I think probably the only way is to have someone that knows how to do keyword research check it for you. You could, of course, this is my normal advice, do it, right? Just publish content and go ahead and see what happens. But the feedback loop for doing that is pretty long. And if you've done it wrong for one reason or another, you said you're, probably a beginner here. If you've done it wrong, it might be a bad idea to just push forward, not knowing anything at all. If you have, I don't know, like where you learned how to do keyword research, but it could be very beneficial if you have a friend, if you're in a mastermind group, where someone can check over your work and let you know, hey, you've done it right, or maybe you should look at these couple other areas just to be sure. So try to find someone that can help you out. Helen's on, Shri is on as well. So a couple big things, let me get rid of this little caption there. A couple big things that happened this year. Number one, back in April, we got an email from Amazon that said in, I think it was like a week or two, the commission rates were going to change. That was a big deal for a lot of people. Of course, there was some pandemic thing going on. Everyone's aware about that. And the commission rate change was kind of a surprise because people were earning more, right? People that were established and were getting traffic on their sites who were already making some sales. More people were at home, more people were shopping online, and a lot of us were making more and more money, record traffic, record sales and conversions, and then Amazon changed these commission rates. For some of us, it hit really hard. It was a devastating blow for a lot of people. Now, one of my friends, Matt Giovanisi, let me switch cameras real quick. One of my friends, Matt Giovanisi, he has a site where I think he was making like 300 some odd thousand per year. Let's focus up here. There we go. He got hit really hard. I had him on the show shortly after these changes came through. And this is, I think I have a clip here. Whoa, that's the view. Let me see what Matt said here. And he mentions not to react right away. And he is over at moneylab.co. There's a couple interviews with him on the channel, but I'm going to play most of this clip here where he's talking about this commission rate change.
That day, so it was a Tuesday, I got the email. Those emails, ever since 2017, when they initially changed it from a variable fee structure, facing like, because Swim University was sending so much traffic and so much sales to Amazon that they're just giving me like an 8% rate, a commission rate across the board. They changed that to a fixed structure in 2017, and that killed one of my businesses, Roasty Coffee, which I ended up selling. So it did not hurt Swim University, because Swim University is in the outdoor and lawn and garden category on Amazon. And yeah, I always read those changes to their policy. When they come through, and they always give me like a slight miniature panic attack. And this time when I opened up the email, I had a full-blown panic attack and just drank myself to sleep. Just really just like, not lying, like just poured liquor and beer down my gullet until I was like, everything's great. I'll fix it tomorrow. And then that's when I like, the next day I woke up, because I was angry that day. So I was drinking and writing. And that's like, it's great because it's like a lubrication. You get the words out, but then you go back and you read, you're like, oh God, yeah. Let me clean up some of the language and let me fix some stuff, and instead of complaining, make it more proactive. And so, yeah, overall though, since that day, I've been so heads down on another project and my team all kind of stepped up to the plate. We have a very small team of about like 3 or 4 people, and they all stepped up and we all figured it out together. And it was like, okay, we have a plan. We're gonna see how this goes. It happened yesterday. I have not checked Amazon Associates today. I'm a little nervous to do that, but I figured I'm not going to do anything drastic until May. I want to see how hard I'm really hit, because I thought my business was over in 2017 when they had their first cut, and it wasn't. And I was like, okay, well, maybe the same applies here. I don't really know. So we'll see. I haven't looked. I've kind of like always been expecting this. This was bound to happen at some point. And my goal for the last like 2 years ever since then really has been to shift my revenue streams percentages wise away from affiliate marketing and more into digital products and my own stuff. And not that I wanted to like lower affiliate marketing revenue, I just wanted the percentage of my digital products to be like more like 60-40 instead of like what it was. It was like 90-10, and then I've been able to get it down to like 75-25, 70-30. And I was like, it's still not enough. Yeah, that's basically where I'm at.
Cool. And I like what you said as far as like not reacting right away. There's some things that you could do when algorithm changes pop out. A lot of times, some people are quick to act. And it's really good to be calm. And you've been doing this for a long time, Matt. Yeah. Like we said, this site's been around for 15 years. You have a lot of traffic going to the site. And if you have traffic, you can adjust your revenue model. And we're going to talk about a few of those items. So just for everyone, the sort of agenda for today is Matt and I are going to talk about beer throughout. I think that's a given. The other part is we're going to talk about some of the options that Matt does have out there that he's looking at. I put several links in the description, so please check it out. It goes to moneylab.co. Matt wrote specifically about this change, and you could, get a little more detail on, Matt in general and what he's looking to do. So we're gonna talk about options and, kind of the business model. The other thing, when I was telling people that I was going to chat with you today, Matt, you're an entrepreneur. You started with affiliate marketing, like a lot of big, prominent business folks these days, but you're an entrepreneur and you've been slowly diversifying. I think it's crazy to diversify at the very beginning because you're just spread too thin. Yeah. It sounds sexy, but really you kind of have to buckle down, learn your shit in one area, and then you could branch off and do some other stuff. So I mean, you have a few different areas of business. And for the people that don't know you at all, you just want to give like a 90-second intro and talk about some of your branches of what you got going on. All right, I'm going to pop back in and just give Matt a shout out over at moneylab.co. Again, there's a full interview, and Matt has been doing a few live streams recently, and he's going to be doing them, I think, weekly starting in 2021. So there's a lot of questions flowing in, and I'm going to hit some of those. I do want to mention a sponsor, and that is Ezoic and their Site Speed Accelerator. It'll help your site load faster. If you haven't checked it out yet, there's a 7-day free trial, and they guarantee an 80 or higher on the Google Page Speed Insight score. There's even a little simulator over there. So if you follow the link in the description here, head over to the Site Speed Accelerator section. You should be able to navigate to that. You can enter your domain name, and then it'll show you what your PSI score, the Page Speed Insight score, is and what it could be if you use the Site Speed Accelerator. And a quick note, I recommend that you integrate with the Site Speed Accelerator using the DNS integration. You'll have more powerful speed, basically. You'll have access to the caching, the CDN. To my knowledge, they're laying on top of the Cloudflare CDN. So that is actually the CDN that you're using. So thanks to Ezoic, I definitely appreciate it. Now, I will answer a few questions here because there's just so many flowing. So let me pop in. Some of them are really similar too. And I do have this very cool overlay, so I can give a shout out to Niche Website Builders, and you can actually save 10% on the link building packages. You can get an additional 10% if you get content. So they'll write content for you as well. And I personally have a 20,000 word per month subscription rolling, and I'm also using their campaign of the Shotgun Skyscraper campaign. So that's going great for me. I can give you an update if people are interested in that. Let me hit a couple of these common questions here. So one of them is, well, this. A lot of people are saying, hey, KGR, does it work? And Helen says, it works for me. So that's cool. I like to see that. And then we have IBB says, KGR works. I can confirm, even though I don't have my own results, I hear from enough people that are using it, which is pretty powerful. That is kind of the magic with KGR. At some point, I didn't have to provide much proof anymore because there were so many other people doing that for me. There's other, I mean, the fact is there's services built up around it. There's software. There's a kind of an ecosystem at this point in time. So I don't really have to go around and convince people. Other folks are trying to convince you already and telling you that it works. And one question, this was kind of a good one here. All right, I almost found it. No, I almost found it. It's somewhere in here. Okay, I can't find it. It's always fun on a live stream, watching somebody trying to figure out where. All right, it was Data Expert that asked, so where the heck is it? Oh, here it is. Boom. All right, here we go. Data Expert says, I have 100 KGR keywords on best related posts. Can I start a multi-niche site on this and start posting day by day? Will this work? And there was another similar question basically saying, hey, if I find keywords from some website, can I reverse engineer and target those same keywords that another site is doing, and will that work? And the grand answer to all these questions is that could work. Those strategies are fine. Will it work when you do it? I have no idea. There's probably 100 different ways that a person, not you specifically, Data Expert or the other person that asked here, there's so many different areas that you can mess up, and it's really easy to do. Sometimes it's a small mistake and it really won't matter. Other times it's a mistake that may be small in scope, like maybe you're using a keyword too often. Really easy to do, especially if you hired someone to write the content for you, but then you may not know that you're keyword stuffing, and it may hold your whole site back. So maybe you publish 100 different posts based on KGR, and we're telling you, hey, KGR works, those are low competition keywords, and then it doesn't work for you, and then you think, KGR doesn't work, this whole thing doesn't work, but maybe you've just made one small mistake. And I mean, the fact is, it's very easy to do each one of the individual steps. It's very easy to do. You can watch a bunch of videos that I have on my channel, Alex Cooper over at WP Eagle. There's a bunch of videos, right? There's tons of content out there, and each one of the little steps is fairly straightforward. Guarantee it. Every single one, pretty easy. The tricky part is doing all of the steps that you need to do that are required, ignoring the stuff you don't have to do, and then doing them in the right order. That's like the key thing. So you got to do all the steps that are necessary. Try to ignore the things that aren't necessary. They're usually a big distraction, and then do them in the right order. Again, every little step's easy, but it's hard to string all these little decision points together. And then if you happen to be learning through YouTube, which is great because you're somehow watching this right now, YouTube can be a little distracting. And I mean, even if you sign up for email lists and listen to podcasts, there's all these different distractions, and it's super easy to jump from one thing to another, even within like affiliate marketing. And you may be implementing little pieces here and there, making little mistakes here and there. So that's why my answer sucks. And I tell you, yeah, that could work. Fuck, I don't know. It might work. It might not work. I don't know. I can't tell you how it's going to work out. It could work. A lot of people have made it work, but my answer, I realize, is not super helpful. But that's why. That's exactly why. There's a lot of failure. There's little tiny mini failure points. Any individual one is probably not going to hold you back, but you get 2 or 3 of them in a row, and then you're not really sure what the problem is. Okay, so that's a good way for me to answer a fairly straightforward question in a very long, extremely long way. And let's switch cameras here real quick. Let's see if we can do that without messing things up. Nope. All right, we're going to do it the old-fashioned way here. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to read some more of these questions here. Oh, Carl says he has been following Matt back from Money Lab's first podcast. And yeah, Carl, Matt's great. He's kind of been around the block and been doing a ton of stuff, and it'll be interesting to see where he's shifting coming up. As we move through here. Oh, and Shri tells someone to start a niche site and then make it authority one. And then I asked, hey, what's a niche site versus an authority site? I think the definition is really important. So, oh, and I see a lot of other people, which I will say hello to in just a second. I'm definitely getting behind here in the chat. I'm not doing great at monitoring the chat these days. Everything just scrolls by. Okay, Shri says his definition is if a niche site becomes popular in a category, it is an authority site. That's what I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Well, I'm not here to define niche and authority. I mean, people can take it as whatever they want. And I was only asking because you used it in your answer to someone else in the chat. So really, I think, all right, I will answer the question. That's what I'm here for. So I think most of the time when people are talking about a niche site, a micro niche site, an authority site, most of the time they're talking about an affiliate site with content on it. Sometimes the affiliate portion may be smaller and there will be display ads, but in general, someone is talking about a content-based website and potentially money is being earned through display ads or hopefully affiliate marketing as well. When people say micro niche site, a lot of times that'll mean something super narrow, and maybe it's like I just have this laying on my desk. It's a little, what do you call it? It holds a smartphone onto a tripod. So maybe a micro niche site would be smartphone tripod adapters.com, right? And you only go after a super narrow focus, which I don't recommend. And basically, if anyone ever uses micro niche site in their question, I usually tell them, well, aim higher. Why do you want to do a micro anything? You want to give yourself flexibility to grow in the future. If you're going to spend time on something, you may as well like give yourself the opportunity to grow it larger. You can start focusing on the single product, but you want to give yourself room to grow if you want. So again, most of the time, if someone says a niche site or authority site, really it's just a term, and it's usually baked into branding, like Niche Site Project, Authority Hacker, for example. They are probably going to use the word authority site. They're not going to use niche site because that's not part of their branding. So I think usually it just comes down to branding. The next question here is somewhere. Oh, Aman says, is Amazon affiliate still profitable during this time? The answer is yes, sure is. And I do see we have Derek on. How's it going? Tiff is on. Marcus, what's up, Marcus? And Amin, awesome. Good to have all you folks in here. And we'll play a clip here in a second. I'm going to hit one more question. And Prussian Prince says, do you teach in your course how to research and write content for Amazon affiliate niche sites? And the answer is yes. My course is multi-profit site. And actually I show you not just how to do an Amazon affiliate site, but how to create a site that has display ads, and you work with other affiliate programs too. Usually Amazon's a great place to start because it's a low barrier to entry, and Amazon converts really well, and they have a huge range of products. However, I'm not a huge pusher of sales, and essentially you can learn a lot without buying my course. But if you want to check out my course, that's great. Multi-profit site. And actually, if you go to courses.nichesiteproject.com, you can see all the stuff that I'm offering out there. So one of the most popular interviews that I had was with Charlie. And I need to get an update with Charlie because actually behind the curtain here, I didn't do many interviews in December because I took a lot of time off. So I have kind of a gap in content right now. So I'm going to have to not really scramble, but I'm going to have to schedule some interviews. This happened last year too. I was like, I don't want to do interviews this time of year, scheduling, blah, blah, blah. And then the first of the year comes around and I'm like, oh, I should have had a couple in the hopper and didn't like publish them all. Charlie published a ton of articles really quickly, like 450 articles in 100 and some odd days. It was pretty dramatic. And again, that was one of the most popular videos and interviews that I did this year. And in this clip, he's talking about 330 articles that are waiting to rank. So he published them. He was still in the sandbox and he's just waiting. So he's going to talk about that here.
So it's almost like you start with a generic keyword and then you kind of go to the more specific location within that keyword. For example, and I'll use in a different niche.
And actually, can you just use like ballpoint pen just to make sure we don't give away someone else's niche? That's
perfect. Okay. So instead of saying like best ballpoint pen, I would say like best ballpoint pen in Virginia. But obviously it wasn't a Amazon type of article. It was like a location type of guide. And I found those to have so much search volume with so much underserved content. Obviously, but researching that topic was a challenge, but I almost started getting better at saying, okay, like what's unique to this location? How can I tweak it towards my website? And then kind of direct my writers on that path. And that made those type of articles a little bit easier and definitely quick to rank.
Very cool. And I have no idea what your niche is, but to that point, I believe, and we could talk more off the record, I think from a link building perspective, because there's a location built in, you have the opportunity to reach out to a lot of small, more independent kind of websites in those locations to do link building and just outreach in general. So again, I have no idea what it is, but when you put locations in there, a lot of new doors open up and a lot of new opportunities. So have you thought about that at all, by the way?
It's funny you mention that. I did one kind of campaign where I wrote an article about a specific area, and I reached out to all the businesses in that area, and I got responses from 4 of them, and 3 of them actually wound up like thanking me for the article because I talked about them, and they actually linked back to me from their like resources page on their website. I mean, it was a small business, but it was like a unique link that I wasn't really asking for. I was more just saying, hey, like we wrote an article about you. What do you think?
Perfect. That is, yeah, I love to hear that. And yeah, you weren't even asking for anything. You were just like networking and becoming someone in the niche. And they're like, hey, cool. No one pays attention to us. We have a small website, but it's so relevant, right? It's like the most relevant kind of link you can get, I imagine.
And even sometimes I think only one of the businesses did willingly, but they may even provide you like a quote or something to say about them. So it even makes like your article that much more accurate, which is even better.
Very cool. Anything else with the link build, or not the link building, with the keyword research portion here?
I noticed that I wound up picking keywords and kind of sticking to that same type of philosophy within that keyword, and obviously like just changing up. So it was almost like I found a really good keyword, saw it ranked, got some traffic, and I almost built that keyword into a category and branched out to like 30 or 40 different type of informational articles that I'm hoping they kind of duplicate that type of growth just because they're clearly being searched and potentially underserved in terms of content on the internet.
Okay.
So that was an interesting thing I saw.
Very cool. And did you happen to use the keyword golden ratio at all, or you went in another route in your previous experience, sort of like you didn't need to use such a structured format like the keyword golden ratio?
So I did use KGR for some Amazon type of keywords, and that was definitely like the second stage. So I kind of put out my first chunk of articles, realized I'm too broad. Then the KGR was starting to say, okay, write an article on Amazon. This is a good topic. And now I was starting to get a few clicks because I was the only one writing an article for that topic that was getting views for Amazon. So that was helpful, and that gave me original traffic in Amazon. And that was honestly probably the real reason I started saying, okay, like good to go to informational articles because the Amazon articles are somewhat working, even if they're only getting a few clicks a day.
Okay, cool. All right, moving on deeper into the content. I think this will be sort of like the meatiest part of the interview because just the sheer volume. I have not published like as much content as you have in such a short period. So tell me about the approach. You mentioned that you started writing yourself, and I'm sure it was helpful that you're interested in the topic and you're knowledgeable. So that was helpful. And then you realized you need to do more. So what did you do to start bringing on more help?
Sure. So yeah, I wrote it was roughly 45 articles or so all on my own. And I was like, okay, this will be a good path to 100. Then when I started doing the keyword research and just realizing how much more topics to be written about, I was like, okay, maybe it's time to start outsourcing. So once I saw there was some type of growth to the website through like Google Search Console, I started looking for writers. And I think this was a process that I definitely failed a lot in the beginning because I kind of went, oh, I'll go with the cheaper writers. And I use internet marketing forums and different type of article writing websites to get content. And at the end of the day, I wound up actually getting the more expensive writers out of all the ones I used. So most of the content was on the low end, I was probably around 2.5 cents a word. And I think on the high side, I got to 4 cents a word. And I'd probably say most of the content, especially in the big content push parts of it, were probably towards more 4 cents a word. But it was almost like, okay, here's 50 articles based on the keyword research I did. Let me ship it out, have them work on it. I'll come back, see how it looks. And then I really found like a few writing services I just really liked working with. They got the titles right. They hit the subheadings, the H2 subheadings really well. And it was starting to become a lot more of me copying it, pasting it, reading it over quickly, spending 5 minutes rather than saying, okay, write this article. And I spent like 45 minutes rewriting it, which was getting a little frustrating. But it was honestly worth the extra few dollars I spent per 1,000 words just to get that article that was ready to go. In terms of content push, so I'd say after April going into May was probably another slower month of content. But the real big push was in June. And I think June I put just over 90 articles out. And I really started getting the hang of the keyword research and understanding what topics I wanted my writers to write about. And July was the biggest month in terms of content with 150 articles added. I think so far, well, I guess August is done now, but I probably have a few more I want to put up tonight. But August was probably another one of those 90 months. So I think the overall part of that is the big push of content was the last 3 months. And if that's roughly 330 articles, that means I got a lot that are hopefully sitting in the sandbox ready to rank as the next few months unfold.
All right, that was Charlie, and you can find the full interview out there. And like I said, I need to get an update from Charlie. I think I've pinged him, or actually he's hopped in the chat a couple times, and I'm like, man, I got to catch up with you. And then I keep forgetting. I mean, like I said, I've taken some time off. Now, I'm going to answer a quick question here. Again, shout out to Niche Website Builders. I'll put up their little banner here. And Ruby has a good question here. That is not the one that I want to do. There we go. Ruby says, anyone have experience in the programming niche? I have a site gaining traffic, but worried I won't be able to monetize because there's not buyer intent and only 20% US traffic. So my two thoughts there are you could monetize with display ads. I've seen sites doing really, really well with tons and tons of traffic in a technical space like that. It does require quite a lot of traffic to earn huge amounts of money with display ads most of the time. And the US traffic, I mean, it'd be good to have more, but there are, ads globally, so you should be able to work that out. And then I also mentioned that you should look for software products or courses that you can be an affiliate for. Now, you would have to go and search for some of those keywords, but sometimes, again, if you get enough traffic, you may be able to understand the audience well enough, and even if it's an informational non-buyer intent topic, you may be able to direct someone to a course. For example, if I was trying to figure out how to do some WordPress, PHP, something or other, and I'm reading a how-to, you may point me towards a course on Teachable or something, or Udemy on early beginner WordPress development. And then I may be able to hop over there. I see it's a good fit, and maybe I make the purchase. Again, you would probably have to get a pretty decent amount of traffic for that. So, good question, Ruby. And I'm going to talk about something else here for a second. A couple things coming up. So I'm trying to publish, different kinds of videos and other videos to keep me interested. I will probably still do, some of the same kinds of videos where I'm teaching how to write content or do keyword research. I mean, that's one of the things I talk about, but I'm also interested in other stuff. One thing I enjoy as far as watching YouTube, which I watch a ton of YouTube, it's kind of my go-to kind of time waster, but I learn a lot in various areas with YouTube. It's fantastic. One thing that I do enjoy, and this is not necessarily learning so much, but it's kind of entertaining, 30-day challenges, usually around some sort of productivity or life hack situation. I've seen a lot of people do it with, some fitness stuff, sometimes with diet, sometimes with, fill in the blank, right? If it's a 30-day challenge, even if it doesn't work out, it's usually somewhat entertaining if the person is producing, reasonable content. And I've seen a lot of channels, do really well with it, and I like the content, and I'm into those sort of ideas. One of the first ones that I'm going to do is all around dry January. That's right, folks. I'm not going to be drinking in the month of January. I only have a couple days left here. And shout out to my friend Marcus. I'm not sure if it's the same Marcus who is on the chat right now, but Marcus, who was on the channel earlier this week on Monday, we've known each other for a little while. He sent me some beers. It was really cool, and I actually got some beers here to the house. He got me some Stone IPAs, a variety pack, and one of my favorite beers, Delirium Tremens. So good. Such a great beer. It's in the cans. People may have seen they have that little pink elephant on there, and it's just a great beer. So I will be not drinking, and I imagine usually when I do this, I lose a few pounds of fat because I just have too many beers, you know. Oh, it is the Marcus that's on here. So Marcus, cool, good. The beers are good. I had a few last night. I'm gonna have a couple more today and a few tomorrow. Try to, you know, hopefully I won't finish all the ones you sent, but yeah, they're really good and I do appreciate it. So shout out to Marcus. So I'll be covering that. My wife is also going dry for the month. She's been more consistent year over year doing a dry January. I think I did most of a January once, and I think I had like one beer because I had some activity I needed to do around beer judging. So like literally it wasn't like I could abstain from drinking. I literally needed to drink the beer to complete the volunteering that I was doing. It's a tough volunteering gig, of course, if the sole goal is to drink beer. But anyway, we'll cover that. My wife will participate, and I think we're going to do some sort of a challenge, or I'm going to at least do some sort of a challenge each month. Sometimes it's not going to be like as huge of a challenge. I'm going to have to, you know, shift some things around and change my daily habits around drinking beer and drink something else instead. But some other things I had in mind are like exercising in a specific way, you know, over a month. Not sure what that might look like. I'll have to figure out what's a little bit of a stretch for me and what is sustainable. The other kind of fun one is napping every day. So like after lunch to take a nap. Even if I don't fall asleep, just lay down for like an hour. I'm not sure, but I could do fun ones like that too, where I'm like, all right, I tried to nap, or I tried to sleep for 9 hours a day, or some kind of other nonsense like that. But I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully that'll be sort of a different set of content. If people have ideas, by the way, for other like challenges, 30-day challenges, let me know. I've actually like I've done stuff like this, but I usually just don't cover it on the channel. Marcus does say a coffee dry January or alcohol dry January. Not sure which would be most difficult. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like if you stack too many things on each other, because I was like, oh, you know what? No caffeine and no alcohol, and just like see what happens. But I would have to like obsess on some other thing, or I would just go bananas. I do drink a lot of coffee. In fact, one issue that I'm having right now in the last couple of days, like we were on the road. You probably noticed on the previous live streams, I was in a different location in my childhood home, back in the office here, back home in Longmont. It's great to be back, but I'm also making more coffee, and I think I've had coffee a little bit too late in the day on both Monday and Tuesday, so I fall asleep really fast, and I'll sleep for about an hour or two, and then I just have like restless sleep where I'm tossing and turning for most of the night. Probably wake up like 4 or 5 times, and I'm pretty sure I just like had a little caffeine like a little too late in the day. So I switched it up. I'm actually drinking like herbal tea right here, and I gotta figure that out. It's no fun to wake up in the middle of the night, and I usually sleep pretty well. I usually do a pretty good job sleeping. So that is a piece of content that's going to be coming up. I'm going to be doing these 30-day challenges. So hopefully once a month, I'll be doing some sort of interesting thing where I can report back and give you some feedback. I know some of them are not going to work out. For example, I have heard of people doing like, say 100 burpees per day. If you're unfamiliar with burpees, it's like a body weight type exercise where you like, you sort of squat down, you kick your legs out, do a push-up, sort of bring your legs back in and then jump. And it's like a full body workout. It'll really get your heart going. Or maybe like 100 push-ups a day or something like that. And I am pretty sure like it's not a great idea to do the same thing over and over again without letting your body rest. So one of the thoughts that I had is maybe not doing 100 push-ups every single day for a month, but do like a rotation where maybe I do 50 pull-ups, 100 push-ups, 100 squats, and then just like and 100 burpees, and I could rotate so that there's not like one area of my body that's just being like fatigued and slammed and it doesn't have time to rest. I think the rest is important. So I'm excited about those. I am not specifically excited about the no alcohol one, but if it improves my sleep, it's going to be a good thing. It's going to be a good thing. And Amin says, I like those challenges. It reminds me of Matt Diavella. And that's one of the YouTubers that I was thinking of. Just forgot his name there for a second. So, all right, cool. I'm going to hit another couple questions here because I see there are a few. And let me know in the chat if it's like your first time on one of these live streams. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Subscribe to the channel if you're not. And I do want to give a shout out to myself and my own stuff. So if you are unaware, I do have courses, and if you go to courses.nichesiteproject.com, you can see the 3 offerings there. I also have a podcast. It's called The Doug Show. I talk about affiliate marketing, a lot of the same stuff here, but I kind of like venture into other topics, sometimes very random topics, but most of the time it's about marketing and doing the stuff that we do around here. You can go to doug.show. That's the URL. You could search for it on all the big directories and podcast players out there. You should be able to find it. It's even on Spotify. So with that said, this question that I saw, all right, Josh had a good one here, and I think I answered in the chat, but I didn't answer verbally. So I'm gonna lay it out here. So Josh says, I'm in the process of building my site. I have a social media community and an email list, so 100,000 followers and 7,000 email subscribers. That is excellent, by the way. That is a fantastic skill to have, and email marketing is one of my favorite things to do. In fact, if you want to sign up for my email list, you can go to nichesiteproject.com, click the green button, enter your name and email. Josh further says, it's currently under development and I'll launch in March. There's established traffic over the last 16 months leading to the domain going directly to the product. So this is kind of an e-commerce site, perhaps drop shipping, but selling your own products. Josh further adds, would you recommend sticking to the same KGR ratios as a new site or taking a different approach? Will the articles rank easier from social traffic? So overall, you can be a little bit looser with this, Josh. So maybe you can experiment a little bit with larger search volumes. Maybe you could experiment with more competitive terms, so the ratio is higher, and just see how it reacts. The cool thing is you're going to be able to get data for your own site with your own keywords and understand what is happening. I mean, you have to get a lot of data to really do anything with it, but you can just see how it reacts. Your question about ranking, ranking easier from social traffic, I don't have enough data to really say anything definitively along those lines. However, I have had a couple posts, a couple sites where the post or the pin or whatever went viral, whether it's like a Facebook post and a lot of traffic was coming that way, or Pinterest and a lot of traffic was coming from Pinterest. The rankings were high for those posts that happened for. And I don't know if the rankings were high and that drove all the traffic and made people more aware of the content so they would share it on their social channels, or if the rankings got better because they were being shared on the social channels. So I don't know, but the fact is, if you can send some people from your email list, if you have the social following, like you'll be able to get traction. And even if it doesn't rank better inherently because of that, the fact that you'll be able to send traffic and point people in that direction Google will be monitoring that and seeing where your traffic's coming from, probably, because of a lot of people use Chrome. So you're in good shape. Josh, check in with me. I'm curious to see how it goes after you launch. Amin says, I heard in a podcast that hard link building is great for trust and overall authority, but it shouldn't be the only link building strategy because it can cause your site to lose relevancy in the niche topic. Would I agree with that? And in a general sense, sure. You could lose a little relevancy around this specific topic, but hopefully the article is somewhat relevant to your topic. The bigger point here, the greater theme is you should probably have many different link building strategies. So guest posting is great. It can be really relevant, sometimes more broad. If you can get links from big media outlets, that's good too. It shows that you're getting out there and you're an authority. So I think anytime you only have one link building strategy, it's probably a little riskier, just because if anything happens, right, to those particular kind of links, like Google doesn't like those links anymore for some reason, or somehow they're cracking down on those links, that could be a bit of an issue. But if you have a variety of different links from different sources, then you're kind of insulated from that. As we move down, a lot of people were very impressed with Charlie publishing so much content. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. He published a lot, and I think he should be out of the sandbox now. I'm not sure how competitive his niche was, but just in general, things should be moving pretty good. Amin says, hey, Doug, I believe you should produce more videos about personal finance. Okay, cool. I can't remember which podcast episode. I think it's the one coming out tomorrow. But I actually say, hey, I want to do more personal finance. Actually, I have it on this Post-it note too. I want to do more personal finance and financial independence topics. And I'm not 100% sure what format, if it's going to be video, if it's going to be podcast, both, where it's going to live, and some of those other details. So I'm kind of, I'm thinking about that, but I enjoy the topic a lot. There's a lot of things to cover, and my observation is a lot of people that are into side hustles and I guess these kind of websites that we work on here, a lot of people are into personal finance. Like, they want to have the freedom to do what they want to do, not necessarily just like build websites all day. They want to hopefully reach some point, even if you haven't thought about it and you're like, hey, I just want to earn some more money. I mean, at some point you're probably thinking, hey, I want to work on the projects I want to work on. I want to have free time. I want to take most of December off, not do your interviews for your podcast and YouTube, and then just punt it forward, and it's no big deal. Like, that's what you can do. So I am very interested in that area. And other people, let me know if you are also interested in personal finance topics. All right, I'm going to keep just blasting through these questions. Oh yeah, we got all this chat going on. This is great. All right. Oh, a lot more people are hopping on now too. Very cool. All right, let's do this. Anna says, I have some articles that are very badly placed, ranking higher than 50, more than 100. Should I just delete them or update and refresh, or just leave it there? I would probably update and refresh, give it a look, see if there's some issues going on. I probably wouldn't just delete them without making some evaluation first. However, I can tell you right now, one thing I need to work on, and I put it off and I do little pieces here and there, is a content audit for Niche Site Project. I have a lot of content that was maybe timely in 2014 through 2017, and they're just not relevant now. They're not targeting any specific keyword. It's really just dead weight, and I should probably have a look. I should check to see if there is some keyword that I could target, and then I can refresh it and adapt it. But if not, I should probably just delete it and redirect it to the most relevant piece of content. Or I think there's a 410 redirect, which basically tells Google, hey, this is deleted and it's no longer relevant. And there's not even anything relevant, and we're not going to talk about it anymore. So for me, that could be, maybe I had some blog post on Niche Site Project about like what I ate that day. Maybe it was like a personal blog post, and I was like, hey, here's what I ate that specific day. And no one cares. The topic is outside of what I cover on Niche Site Project, and I don't need the content there. And it's not ranking for anything. No one visits it. I should just delete that. And there's no other relevant content because I don't cover topics about what I eat. So I should probably just 410. I think it's 410. Pretty sure. Someone can correct me in the chat here. Asmat, what's going on? Thanks for hopping on. Yeah, a lot of people love coffee too much. I do like coffee quite a bit. And there's a decent chance. Oh, maybe I could just switch to like green tea. Because I do like a little caffeine, but I think green tea could be a good switch. And Penny, first time on the live stream. What's going on? Yeah, thanks for hopping on. Really appreciate it. Asmat says, I take coffee 3 times a day. Yeah, I have. I usually make like a carafe, and I think it's like 1.25 liters, something like that. A quart and some change. So it's just a little bit too much coffee, just a little bit too much. And Helen asked, burpees. I think it's 2 E's at the end. Someone can correct it from there. All right. Josh says it's a 5-figure niche site student. Josh, what's going on? I haven't heard from you in a bit. Hope things are going well in Austin. And you happen to be on YouTube and you advertise and you got notified that the stream was there. It was in your feed, which is great. All right, the Joker says this. It's been 5 months. I still don't get any traffic. The site has 32 posts. Most are commercial content. What should I do? There's a couple key errors that you can check out. I'll just mention 1 or 2. So number 1, make sure you're not keyword stuffing. I'm assuming that you are using the keyword golden ratio. You might not be, but I'm assuming that you are. So make sure you're not keyword stuffing. You should also just have a look at the content. Just make sure it's high quality. I know a lot of people will tell me, yes, it's high quality. It's fantastic. It's so great. I can't tell you how much better it is than my competitors, but it's just not ranking. And then when I take a look, it's actually not that good. So try to remove your own bias to your site. Maybe have a friend or an editor check it out and give you real feedback on the content. The other thing is the keyword research may not be quite right. And if you're not using the Google Search Console, you should. And that'll give you an idea. Are any impressions showing up? Is it showing up in search at all, ever? Is it showing up like once or twice and then never showing up again? So what's going on? Is it slowly moving up? And it sounds like you're not getting any traffic at all. All right. Oh, this is cool. Josh says the December Google update has been very nice to my site. Traffic and earnings are at an all-time high. Excellent. Josh, I would love, I haven't checked my email in a couple days since I've been sort of off the grid here for a bit. But I would love to get an update from you, Josh. I know we went back and forth on a couple of these areas, and we're like, hey, what's going on? Why is this not working how we expect? And yeah, very curious to hear the details. And if you cracked the code for anything, let me know. And Helen's doing great. So shout out to Helen. She's letting people know, hey, if you like these live streams, hit the thumbs up, and I do appreciate it. Oh, and Josh says you enjoy the finance episodes. Cool. I will probably talk more and more on that. Derek says, when are you going to create a beer website? I don't even drink beer, but I would read it if you create it. Yeah, I don't know. Well, definitely not in January since I won't be drinking, although maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a good thing to do to distract me, but it'll just make me think more and more about beer. I've thought about it here and there, but I probably won't do that in the short term. The one idea that I have as we look and think about stuff that we want to work on, I'm in the luxurious position where I'm like, okay, like what do I really want to work on? Like, what do I want to spend my time on? I can choose what I want to work on, and I understand the value of like pruning things off that you don't enjoy, getting rid of it, and you'll probably do better in the stuff that you're continuing to work on. So one idea that I had, I think it could be fun, is to produce a YouTube series where I go around to the local breweries, of which, I mean, there's so many awesome ones in my, Boulder County area here. And there's, 5 or 6 really awesome ones right here in Longmont that, I could just ride a bike to get to or walk on the Greenway and get to them. In Colorado in general, there's a ton, but basically do a YouTube series where I go to the breweries, hopefully have some food. I'm thinking like pizza and burgers and beer. And like that's kind of the focus. Those are my favorite kinds of foods, and I would have a great time. And maybe I just do like 10 episodes, but that could be a thing where I'm like, all right, I'm taking a quarter or 6 months off. I'm going to, have maybe a couple sponsors help me out so I don't have to like pay for the whole thing. They, of course, would get advertising and whatever. And then I would go around, drink beer, eat awesome food, and hang out with cool people. It sounds awesome to me. So that would be the closest thing, Derek. That would be the closest thing. And I'm not sure how that would look, but yeah, maybe I did like a pilot, or maybe I could do like a pilot like season, a few series, and then I don't know where it would live, but that would be pretty fun to do. All right. Just rambling on here. Okay. Oh, Jonathan says this. Hello, for Pinterest, what would you say is a good click-through rate? Say your pin gets 1,000 impressions. What number of clicks would you be happy with? You know what, Jonathan, I have no clue. So I'm going to refer back to the crew here in the chat. So what kind of click-through? I don't do Pinterest, so I have no clue. I'd be happy with anything. I'd be happy with anything. So let Jonathan know in the chat and say Pinterest click-through rate. Here's what I would look for. Yeah. Okay. And then, Sandro says, my feedback on personal finance would be yes, but heavily regulated, which leads me to a question. When entering a new niche, how much time do you devote legal research to trademarks, regulation, and so on? So 0 on regulation. I usually stay away from anything that's like heavily regulated. And as far as trademarks, I will usually quickly check in like the U.S. trademark search and patent office. I usually search to make sure I'm not like taking a name that's already out there. And as far as the personal finance, I'm actually not too worried about the regulation portion because I would just frame it as basically entertainment, and I'm not giving any specific advice. I'm just telling you what potentially I do, but I think it would probably end up being an interview podcast for the most part, just because I have some experience with personal finance, but really I'm boring and I just do the simplest thing you can do. I think actually a lot of people do that. And yeah, so to answer your question, Sandro, I really do a minimal amount and I really don't pay attention to the legal stuff, which probably isn't the best move, but some people go overboard and really they do too much research in those areas before they really need to. All right. Next, as Matt says, should we start for Amazon affiliate sites targeted only one product or multiple different products? So generally multiple different products in the same sort of niche. So I usually don't recommend people go and target like huge, like broad, like unrelated things where you're, don't do like outdoor products and like craft products, children's products. Don't mix all those up, and tech products, cameras and computers. Then it's like you don't know what you're focusing on. Google doesn't know what topic area you're an expert in. So I would like focus on one of those areas, and that's your niche. And then Penny says, you're making me hungry. Yeah, exactly. And the thing, I would love it. I'd get to go drive around and then eat and drink food. It would be really fun, really fun to do some kind of show like that. All right. So it sounds like not many people have any insight on the Pinterest click-through rate. And I honestly have no clue. Jonathan, what click-through rate are you getting? So what do you see out there? What do you think? Next, we have Jahid says, is there any rules or step I can follow to write content? Love from Bangladesh. Rarely we don't talk about your KGR and you in the Facebook group, Affiliate Bangladesh. Okay. There's like, go to my site, Niche Site Project, and then look at the content, all the content posts. So you can just search for, how to write content, and you'll find a lot of information on that. You can also watch some YouTube videos where I go through the process. In fact, I did a over-the-shoulder like live stream in the last few weeks where I was like, oh, here's how you can organize content. And yeah, Jahid, if you have the opportunity, let people know about KGR and share some of my videos. All right. Oh, Gaurav, what's going on? And late in the day, 60 live streams. Yeah, I did like 60 live streams this year. And in fact, cool thing, I actually have a clip from you, Gaurav. You made the highlight reel. So let me pull up your video here. Let me find that. And this one is where you're talking about publishing 200 posts in like 2 to 3 months. And Gaurav, in the chat, you can let us know like sort of what's been going on for you in December. And I'd like to have you on the show sometime again soon.
I mean, what my feeling has been over the last 1 week is that it's not really scalable. It's like you can have that Ferrari, but you can have only one of those Ferraris, right? But if you go for a Nissan, then you can have a lot of Nissans for the same price, for the same effort in this case. So I have thought that I'd probably do Haro for a bit and then figure out a couple of other ideas that I have. I've got one link through that idea already, but those would be guaranteed very low authority links. They would be good sites, but very low authority.
Probably pretty relevant, I take it?
Very relevant, yes.
Okay.
They're basically local businesses from my area. I'm a member of BNI, so I just contact them saying that I can feature you, and let's say we're talking about best ballpoint pens for journaling. So if there's a local bookstore owner, so I can say that, oh, what do you have to say about this? And then why don't you link to it?
Got it. And what is BNI? What is that?
Oh, BNI. Sorry, BNI is this networking thing. It's a global thing where local business owners meet in the mornings and they exchange leads if they have any for each other.
Okay, gotcha. What does it stand for?
I think it used to stand for Breakfast Networking International till they became just BNI. Okay. IBM became IBM. Yes.
Got it. Okay, yeah, and I've heard of. I've gone to a couple Million Cups meetings. Have you heard of those? Okay.
I haven't heard, but I would. Yeah, it's basically local business owners meetings. So let's say there's a chiropractor, there's a plumber, there's a whatever, an accountant. So
Got
all
it.
of them need.
Okay. So, and with that, you're in the network and you guys have a common interest and you're able to work it out. That sounds like exactly how you should do link building, where you're actually networking and you have some relationship with the person ahead of time. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Although I can tell you tried this. It's very tedious, very time consuming, very relevant links, but almost always very low domain authority because these are all local businesses.
yeah. So I want to go back to content because you have pushed out so much content and in a relatively short time. So you said 200 posts in, did you say 3 to 4 months? Is that right?
Yes.
So for people who are thinking they want to do that from a project management standpoint and just managing that number of words being published, how should they approach it?
Okay, so a couple of things I would suggest anyone who wants to do something like that. Firstly, it's possible, but it's not possible. You have to ramp it up. So you have to start slow. And I did not know this starting, but where I got lucky was I hired people who naturally their English might not have been the best, but they were naturally very, very intelligent. So they could put their minds to what they were writing, and they kind of understood what I was trying to do as well. So initially, I was very hawkish and very strict with what was coming in. I was reviewing each and everything and sending them feedback very regularly. I remember having a very long call with one of my most prolific writers to take him through all the steps. That really worked. So we did a Zoom call, and I shared my screen and told him these are the specific things that I'm looking for. Second, when I started off, I think I was averaging around $35 an article, and then I bumped it up a little and passed on a bit of Amazon tables and a bit of formatting to the writers. They were happy because they got that bump up, and I was happy because it meant lesser work for me. Again, use your advice about Grammarly, and that has helped. I just got that done last week, and the content that I've gotten since last week, has been grammatically almost perfect. So these are the few things that I did to scale up.
Cool. And you actually emailed me and you were like, hey, I want Grammarly Premium and you want to check it out. So just as a mini ad in the middle of this interview, it's panned out pretty good, right? It's a higher level of usage. So.
Oh yes. Yep. And I use LastPass to share the Grammarly account, and I think now it's really helping out my writers.
Cool. And just to be clear for everyone, so LastPass is a password manager, and you can share a password with whoever you want, and they won't know the password, so you could change it in the future, and they can't change your account, but they'll be able to log into whatever you want. And one of the things that they can log into is Grammarly that they install on their browser, which will work within WordPress or Google Docs, and it works really well. I mean, there used to be some bugs associated with Grammarly, but at this point, I mean, it's working for you, it's working for me, and the VAs that, can help us out. So pretty cool. Anything else like content wise, like templates, anything like that?
No, not really. I just came up with my own templates, which were product guide and then reviews, and I use the Rehub theme, so that has the pros and cons table that comes out nice. But if you were to ask me, if I were not to use that, it wouldn't really change anything. So yeah, that's it for the most part.
Very good. All right. Well, as far as how this is impacting your life, it sounds like you have a pretty nice, full-time business going on. This is a fun side hustle for you. So, what has this done for you personally? How has it impacted you?
Okay, so how it has impacted me, very interesting. It has really given me the confidence. I wanted to do something at scale, and this was really my testing ground. So now I have set the ball in motion to acquire something which is a lot bigger than what I did. We are looking at an acquisition which is around 60K. When I say we, I have partnered up with one of my friends, and we've hired the services of Dom Wells as well. So he's helping us out there. So that's what it has really given us, and I expect that in the next month or so we would have that started. So I feel that I have built a team, and now I can send there's a machine or there's an engine that's chugging, and I can just now send in something else their way for them to process and give me content or links for the new site that I want to work on.
That's pretty awesome. Do you have a specific goal for your sort of original site as far as content, or long-term, say 12, 18 months looking further out?
I have a sort of nebulous plan in mind, which is that I would till the time it takes for us to acquire the site, I'm going to use the team to pump out as much content as possible in the next 1 month. I see we are at about 200 articles. I see that we would, once we have the new site, I think the original site would be around 300 articles. And that's when I would let those articles kind of start ranking. I plan to focus on link building, both internal and external. Right now, there is hardly any internal link building. So I plan to focus on that once I've done this run of content production, and then I would be focusing on the new site. So the old site is extremely, you can say, brandable. So it can really become big, but it will depend entirely upon how much relevant quality content is put there, and how much it is promoted by link building.
All right, that was Gaurav, and he's in the chat right now. He gave me an update, and he said the main site crossed $5,000 in December and 10K overall. There's 500 articles on the main site, and it's very spread out across the pages thanks to KGR content. So another data point of KGR working. I know some people don't like KGR, and that's fine. It's definitely a tool that you can use, and it seems to help out some people. So Gaurav, I will shoot you an email. Hopefully we can get something set up sometime soon. So I answered a couple questions, and I'm gonna answer some more. It's a pretty rich group here. I like it. So number one, Fred says, I have 20 plus domains. What should I do with them? Build splash pages, redirect them. And my answer is a question. What was your plan? What were you going to do with those? I don't know what you should do with them. Potentially nothing, but it depends on what you were trying to do initially. 80 says, I'm really confused. I've learned SEO, but I don't know which side to pick. Niche sites versus client sites. And basically, I asked if you like to work with clients. Like, do you want to work with clients? Do you need to earn money right away? The good part when you do a service like SEO services, or maybe you build websites, maybe you do keyword research for people or write content, you can earn money right away. In fact, you could probably earn money by the end of the week, even though it's a holiday week. If you really wanted to do a service, you could find someone that can pay you. You got to sell it. There's some other stuff you got to do, but technically you could earn money right away when you're doing sales. If you're building a site, especially from scratch, it's going to take you a little while to build up the revenue. But the big thing is you don't want to create a job that you don't like, because 80 says, I don't need to earn money right now, but pretty soon, like in the next few months, and I really don't like calls with strangers. I'm an introvert. So basically, if you don't want to work with clients, don't create a business where you are working with clients. So even if you just do audits or you do something smaller, I understand, like, if you got to pay the bills, you want to make some money, get some skills, you can do it. You can do those services. But at the end of the day, like, if you are sitting in the driver's seat, you can steer in what direction you want to go in. And if you're telling me you don't want to work with clients, then don't do a thing where you work with clients. It's just the wrong direction. Wrong direction. As Matt says, what tools do I use for keyword research, especially the KD of which tool or tools? And I like KW Finder. I linked in the chat. I did actually, I think I did like 2 or 3 live streams where I like did keyword research using KW Finder. It's a paid tool. That's the one I like. I did get some good requests and great logic to use as many free tools as I could for keyword research, just to show, like, hey, here's how you do it. I pushed back immediately saying, well, I mean, you're basically tying your hands, like one hand behind your back, and you're trying to make do when you can just use a proper tool and get more done faster. But that is exactly the point that the person was making. Like, yeah, you can show it. Actually, it could have been Helen, I can't remember, but someone was like, yeah, you can just show us that the free tools are inferior because they're free and it's harder to add the functionality. And I mean, no one puts out anything for free for absolutely nothing. As we scroll down, James says, can you still get a link for free by doing outreach? The answer is yes. As I've heard, it's all paid now. Every webmaster out there demands some money. Usually you will, I mean, if you're doing outreach campaigns, you will run across that, but you still can get links without paying. You may have to take a different approach than the same one that everyone else is doing, where they are being asked to pay for it. And Derek says, that sounds entertaining. Do it. So it must be the beer and food web series. It could be fun. Asmat says, what factors do I notice in the website starter journey? How do you understand whether a site will give you results or not, even with solid roadmap and action plan? Basically, it's really hard to tell. The factors usually, maybe not with a starter person, but over time, when I have heard from people that are successful, usually they just kept going. So there are the sort of the one-offs where you hear someone who's like, I've been doing this for 6 years and literally nothing has worked for me. If you probe them, they've probably jumped around and, they haven't really worked on the same thing and tried to improve for 6 years. Most of the time it's going to take you like a few months to kind of figure out if you're getting traction. We heard from somebody here who's been working on a site for 5 months and there's no traffic. That's pretty unusual. I actually launched a site in a pretty competitive niche and it's coming up on the 6-month mark, but it's competitive enough. I'm actually a little worried that I may not get out of the sandbox until closer to a year. I have heard that happen a couple times, or more than a couple times. I've heard from many people where it's like the site doesn't pop until it hits about a year, especially in more competitive niches. One of my friends, Ron Stefanski, he basically gives a site a year before he makes any big evaluations on it. He knows things that work and continues to go, down that route, like you said, with a solid roadmap and action plan. But until you hit a year for some niches, you may not have a great idea. And for the site that I just launched, it's getting very little traffic, but there's a lot of content on there. There's a decent number of backlinks going to the site as well. And the weird part is many of the posts, this is a very standard thing. I get this question all the time. Even though I have a sitemap and all the posts are indexed, like all the 70 posts are indexed, unfortunately, a lot of their index, they're showing as indexable. If I go to Google and I type in the site and I try and see everything that's indexed that will show up in the SERPs, there's only a fraction of them. So for whatever reason, again, maybe Google's just testing it and it's just sitting in the sandbox. It's going to take a little while. So to answer your question, Asmat, hopefully you'll get some traction. Kind of a weak answer, but it's hard to tell. The Mastermind says, do I think Amazon affiliate is saturated? Not any more than it was when I started in 2013. It was already saturated back then, and there's more people doing it now because there's a lot of people talking about it, but there's always room. There's always new people popping up. So I wouldn't worry about being saturated too much. All right. Vince, what's going on? And Gaurav also mentions that KGR is working beautifully across the sites. When I buy a site, invariably it has highly concentrated traffic. A few months of KGR content helps reduce the dependence on the top 10 pages. Fantastic. Good point there. Good point. Purpo says, how to sell increase which on backlink help on affiliate site. Oh man, someone's going to have to help me out with that one. Those are all words in English, and I understand what each one of those words means individually, but this particular order of the words in this sentence is perplexing. I have no idea what you're trying to ask here, so I will move on to family and friends. Mr. Fred, you were trying to corner the market. So back to the question, Fred has like 20 domain names. He was trying to corner the market with the keywords Latina model or Latina models. 10 years ago, probably going to build many sites. Is this strategy is now outdated, correct? You know what? I was never into that business model, so I don't know if it worked then or if it works now. What should you do with those domains? I would probably, you know what? I'm a person that just moves on at this point. I try to get away from stuff. So I would just maybe check around, just one last effort, maybe reach out to, I don't know who. Maybe you have to reach out directly to a webmaster and say, hey, I got these domain names. Do you want them? But I would just let them go and not worry about it and then go on with my day. What you're experiencing is sunk cost. You're thinking, hey, I've kept these domains going for a while and I don't want to lose money on it. But the fact is you already lost money on it and there's probably nothing you can do to earn any money. You mentioned that you're doing a splash, like maybe do a splash page or redirect them or whatever. If there's no backlinks going to the site, redirecting is not going to be worthwhile. If you put a splash page there, I don't know who's going to it or why they would go there. So I would maybe just chalk it up as a lesson learned and move on and do something different that's working now. All right, Michelle's on. Happy New Year. What's going on? And oh, and Fred, sorry. You know, the chat, it's chronological here. So Fred says, or should I just sell them? Yeah, try and sell them. If you can't sell them, don't worry about it. Just don't pay for renewing the sites anymore. Probably a waste. And people let me know if you disagree. Jimmy Stewart says, how do you judge revenue? How do you judge revenue a site is generating when we're about to choose a niche so we can calculate a rough ROI? When we're about to choose. Okay, so how can you judge revenue a site is generating? You can't really, in my estimation, it's not really a worthwhile activity. If you wanted to, you could, oh, look at this. Adrian, all right, I'll give you a shout out here in a second, buddy. So you could check to see how much organic traffic they're getting. on a tool like Ahrefs and then kind of extrapolate from there based on some wild assumptions. You inevitably are going to be way off, but it can give you some idea in a relative sense. When you boil it all down, if you just look at how much traffic a site is getting, that's probably a good enough estimation, and you don't need to worry too much about calculating a rough ROI. If you go to like a company like some of the companies that do done-for-you sites, they're going to give you some kind of bullshit sheet that gives you estimates for the earnings, which are based on like best case scenarios and a bunch of other assumptions that are very, very unlikely to be accurate. Their accuracy, let's just say it's 80%, but they've made like 20 assumptions. Now, I haven't done the math, but someone out there can multiply 80% 20 times, and you'll see the accuracy of whatever estimate they have is going to be really low. It's going to be completely off. So making those estimates, it could be a fun exercise to do to give you like more confidence, but at the end of the day, it's going to be way off. So that's a non-answer. So James, I'm not sure about that. And quick shout out to Ron. How do I feature this thing? I'll find it in a second. Oh, Ron says for 2021. So he has sent along a super chat, much appreciated. And he is one of the kind moderators who's been helping out a ton, because my initial set of moderators from years ago, they don't hop on here anymore. They're doing their own stuff. Some of them have their own channels, and it's pretty cool. So I appreciate the people that are on here. Number one, this is one of the larger live streams that I've had in the past several weeks, even though I do keep showing up, but sometimes not so many people show up. I'm going longer today, so I think that helps. All right, Julio says, I'm new here. What's up? Thanks for joining in here. Do I have a course or know of a course for an affiliate website? Yes, thanks for asking, giving me a way in. If you go to courses.nichesiteproject.com, you'll see the 3 courses I have. There's one called Multi-Profit Site that kind of goes over exactly what you want, but it's not just affiliate marketing. It's a multi-profit site, so you're earning from different sources. So display ads, maybe you're earning from Amazon, maybe you're earning from other affiliate programs. And one of the big pieces of the puzzle is digital products. I really encourage people to be an affiliate for digital products, either in the form of courses or software. Julio, I think there's a link in the description, but like I said, you could just go over to courses.nichesiteproject.com and then you'll see what you got. And Michelle says, this is fantastic. It's taken a while, but I've just hit $3,000 per month. I've used KGR on all my sites to get them moving. Fantastic, Michelle. Would love to get an update from you if you want to join me on the show. I know you just hopped on, but I actually, I got a little behind and I've neglected doing some interviews. So I would love to hear success stories, especially from people like you, Michelle. Congratulations. That's fantastic. Asmat says, should we buy an Amazon affiliate site, which is started and ranked on like 500 to 1,000 keywords? It should be a good idea, but have I ever tried it? Also, where to hunt for this kind of site? Yeah, so there's a bunch of places you can go. That is a good idea if you have the capital to purchase such a site, and you have to listen to the podcast episode tomorrow. I literally, actually, there's 2 episodes you need to listen to. One was published last Thursday, Christmas Eve, and it was from Lisa. Lisa asked a question about like whether she should keep working on a site or what she should do, because she purchased a site and then she lost traffic and earnings. So I talk about that. Cam emailed me and said, hey, here's my response to your podcast about Lisa's question. So tomorrow, that episode's coming out. So Doug.show, you could check it out from there. And Azmat, I think it'll give you a lot of good information. As far as where to find them, there are Facebook groups out there that you can potentially go to. And there's a company called Motion Invest, for which I'm an affiliate. So I'd get a commission if you follow my link. There's not one in the description, but if you go and search on Niche Site Project, they have sort of smaller sites. So a place like Empire Flippers, they have bigger sites. They're all over 20K. And Motion Invest serves like a smaller type site and investors with less money. All right, this is great. I usually don't get super chats, so it's really fun to get any, and it's really cool. So thank you, thanks a lot. And we have Fred's family and friends, and I motivated him to sell, which is cool. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things you gotta look at. You know, what you were trying to do, is this still valid? I mean, it's sunk cost fallacy. That was the topic episode from last week, by the way. And the thing is, the sunk cost is like something you just can't get away from. So I personally think about the sunk cost all the time, but I still hang on to some sites where I should just get rid of them. It would be better if I just like didn't even pay attention to them and just stop paying for hosting, stop renewing the domain, and just like let it go. But I still hang on because I'm thinking, I'm going to do something with it one day, or someone could, do something with it. But man, it is tough to get past the sunk cost. All right, Zolkwernon, how do you figure out how long the length of an article should be using the KGR? Generally, if you aim for like 1,200 words, you're going to be in good shape. But the best way is to go look and see what other sites, like how long their content is. That'll give you a good idea. Michelle does give us an update and says the site's 3 years old. You changed the domain name a year ago, and it has 170 articles and just hit $3,000. Very cool. GS says, how often do you pin something pin? I don't do any Pinterest stuff. My voice is hurting here. So I'm going to play a clip. Oh, hold on here. Let me get a clip. No intro because I just gotta play it here. All right, we got Dom Wells.
One of the benefits of not being under lockdown is you can still have lunch with people. So in Taipei, I was having lunch on Sunday with a few other entrepreneurs, and we were just sort of just talking about stuff, and he was saying, well, why don't you just promote my stuff? And I was like, okay. So it kind of just came about from there. But obviously something actionable for the podcast for people who are not in that situation like I'm in. I think actually what you just said, like if someone's running ads for their products, yeah, reach out to them. What else? I had a few other tips. Maybe Google the product pages start searching for e-commerce keywords, like instead of searching like best razor blade and looking for all your affiliate competitors, just Google razor blade and look at all the shops selling it, and then maybe go to page 2 and find people who are like, oh, you've got a good product, but you don't have any traffic. Would you like some? And post in Facebook groups. There's a Facebook group called Shopify Entrepreneurs, and I joined it about 4 years ago, and it had something like 50,000 people in it. I don't know how many people it must have now. But just go in there and, I don't know, make sure you're not breaching the rules. I actually know the owner. He's a pretty reasonable person. So just go in there and just say, hey, does anyone have a need for this traffic? I'm sure you'll get people biting your hand off. In fact, I think I might do that.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Just stuff like that, and just be a little bit creative. And like you say, like, don't be complacent. We, I guess we're the victims of our own success a little bit. And, imagine you're the head of Amazon's associates program, and you're looking at all these people and you're like, they're not really doing anything to drive these sales. In fact, are we even driving sales, or are we just leeching, like, because We're just cooking people before they buy. So I can see them being like, well, let's reduce the commissions because they're not really working hard enough to make the sales. So yeah, be a little bit more creative and hustle a little bit, and you might be able to make more money in the long run.
Very good. And coming sort of towards the end, and there's another post that I wanted to mention that you wrote before a lot of the situation with COVID-19 popped out. This is future-proofing by building an audience, basically. And just generally, future-proofing is a great idea. It removes that complacency. But can you just give a few tips about things you're thinking about right now as far as future-proofing revenue generating media type sites?
So where to start? So yeah, this Amazon stuff hasn't really changed my long-term plans because my long-term plans were not really involving Amazon anyway. It's accelerated them a little bit. But for those who haven't read the post, essentially I was saying the best way to future-proof an investment, so if you buy a content site, how can you make sure it's going to be around, is to buy sites that have an audience, and they come because they want to read your information. They subscribe to your blog. They do all of this stuff because they like your content. They're not just going to come and read an article, click an Amazon link, and never come back again. So, for example, if you got your site dinged by Google, so I mean, like you personally, like niche site project.com suddenly didn't show up in Google, you wouldn't get any new traffic, but you'd still have all of your old YouTube following and your email subscribers, people who are fans of yours. So your income's not going to die and straight away. And, you're going to obviously need to do something to replace that lost traffic, but it lets you sleep a little bit better at night knowing that you're not as reliant on like an Amazon payout or a Google algorithm. So the kind of sites that excite me are sites where, like people are coming because they want the content and they want to become fans. They don't want to become fans, but they become fans of the blog, and they just are interested in the niche and the content you're putting out. And then in terms of how you monetize that, there's a lot more options then as well. Like you could monetize with an ebook, a membership, a course. You could still do physical products, and you could still do affiliate, but you just have a little bit more power to pick and choose how you make the money. So yeah, that hasn't changed. If anything, I'm more bullish on that now than I was when I wrote the post. Yeah.
For sure. And yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, I think both you and I kicked up our blogs around the same time, 2013 timeframe, and that probably slowed down our affiliate marketing revenue, but we ended up with brands at the end of the day. You had an exit. I mean, it makes sense in so many ways with email lists, podcasts, just it's a platform that you could do the thing you want to do. So I can't agree more. Email lists, they're still very strong. I like email lists a lot. Yeah. So, all right, that was Dom Wells, and hopefully my throat's gonna hang on. I mean, I was drinking warm tea the whole time. Who knows? I've even tried to talk a little quieter, which now it sounds creepy. I'll just move the mic closer. Thanks everyone for hopping on. This is amazing. We haven't had this many people on in a while, and I think it's cool. It's cool. I'm excited. So one thing, I even had a post-it note here, but I kept thinking, I'll talk about it next. All these great questions were coming through. I'm going to be doing a couple case studies next year. They're kind of already like in play right now, and they're mostly about growing a site. And unfortunately, these are not going to be public case studies where I share the site. That's not my move normally. I like to keep, these are my own actual real sites, and I'm not, trying to sell something specifically like a tool associated with it. I'm like going over techniques. These are more advanced topics. Now, the first one is from a student. And if you're a fan of the channel, of the podcast, you've heard Christy on the show a few times. She is earning, I think it's about $3,500 per month, and it's just been a really slow, methodical growth trajectory. Her site is around 2 years old, a little over 2 years, And she hasn't necessarily plateaued, but there have been periods where the growth really sort of levels off, or it's imperceptible. You have to zoom out and you can see it's still growing a little bit. And she wants to double the revenue next year. We had sort of an early call, like talking about the possibilities of what I think she should do. And it's a little different than some of the typical strategies that we talk about. So again, her goal is to double revenue. I actually think she could do more than that. She is very driven, very organized, and smart. And the cool thing is we had this sort of a kickoff meeting to talk about what we think she could work on. And she put together a presentation. It was like 20 slides long, filled with information and all the possibilities that she has already brainstormed and thought about working on. And they are, again, much different than, hey, all right, you want to double your revenue? Let's publish, 100 times more articles or whatever. It's a little different than that. So I'm excited to see how that works. I haven't done something specifically like that where I'm like, okay, we're going to double revenue and we're going to do it this way, and follow it as a case study. So a lot of pressure on me, a lot of pressure on her. At the end of the day, there's still going to be like awesome content, and you can see what's working and what's not working. Kent, what's going on? Penny, thanks for mentioning that. Next is my own site. So there's a site that I purchased last year, right around this time. It was the end of December. It was from a student of mine who created the site before she enrolled in my course, 5-Figure Niche Site. So it had some content, and it was earning between like $100 and about $200 per month. It was slightly seasonal. There were about 25 articles or so, and she wanted to sell it because her other site was blowing up. So she enrolled in my course and worked with me, got coaching, and her site started growing and she was earning more and more, and she wanted to focus on the site that was doing so well. And I was in the market for a small site, so I bought it for a pretty fair price. We just worked directly together, and I added, I think, about 10 articles last year. So there's only like 35 articles on it. I want to say, I can't quite remember. I think there's a little under 50,000 words of content. So it's not a huge amount of content. I believe in December, this month, it's going to make like $480, something like that. So the changes that I made on the site did help quite a bit. Last year, I think it made about 200 in December. So it's definitely grown. Even with the commission rate change, the number of changes that I made boosted revenue. So that's cool. The awesome part is I'm partnering with brand builders on growing this site. Initially, we're going to get 57,000 words in the first month, which is pretty cool because that's more than doubling the content. We're going to target low competition keywords, not necessarily KGR, but low competition. It's pretty narrow. It's a pretty narrow area, but I think it's a good niche, and that's why I bought the site. After the initial 57,000 words are added, which I'm not sure how many articles that's going to be. It's probably going to be, if I just had to guess, something like 40, something like that. It may be less than that. I'm not 100% sure. It could be 30. We're going to add 24,000 words per month on an ongoing basis. There's going to be some light link building going on as well, but the really cool part is it's making okay money. Like I said, almost $500 in December, and there's really not that much traffic. There's really not that many articles, and it just converts pretty well. The site, you know what, I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say it's about 4 years old. There's almost no backlinks at all. There was no link building was done. The domain rating is like 6 or something like that. So there's hardly any links, and just doing any kind of link building, I think, is going to make a pretty big difference. Now, when I bought the site last year, I went through, fixed the grammar, improved the content, and added some more content, and added like FAQs internally linked, and I put AmmoLinks Pro on there. So there's some feature boxes and some buttons, you know, some of that nice stuff. And like I said, the earnings went up, traffic went up. It actually got hit a little bit in the most recent algorithm update in December, but not in a like catastrophic way. Just I could see it was on a growth trajectory, and the growth is now gone away. I'm very excited because when I published more content on the site, it got traffic right away. So all of a sudden, like doubling the content, I think is going to be some pretty awesome stuff. Jason just showed up. What's up, Jason? Jason D, how long has it been on? 105 minutes is what I see on my end. All right. Okay. Hannah says, got an e-com site and looking to see which will be better. Subdomain with WordPress / a subdirectory on Shopify. I need to create a blog for the site and follow your program to do so. I have never done that. I don't know what the best route is on that one. So I potentially, you know what? I don't know. I have no idea. I would maybe do, if I just had to guess, I would maybe do a subdirectory on the Shopify store and just keep it simple. I know you can have a blog on Shopify, so I think that would probably be okay. I know if you check the interview with John Murphy, there's 2 interviews. He is doing great with his e-commerce site and drop shipping, and he has a blog on Shopify, and he doesn't run WordPress. He's just running a Shopify store, getting a lot of organic traffic coming in that way. Malik says, should we follow the 80-20 rule on niche sites, focusing 80% of our efforts on the top 10 ranking pages? Yeah, you know what, in a general sense, you know, more like do what's working, do more what's working, and stop doing what's not working. If you're spending 80% of your time on the content that's already ranking really well, you may be wasting your time a little bit, but you have the general idea. Yes, I mean, 80-20 is a good way to organize and prioritize what you're working on. And yeah, Jason, go back and watch from the beginning. And I'm not revealing the intro part of that is I'm not revealing the domain names or anything like that, unfortunately. Unfortunately for you guys, but fortunately for me, like basically the public case studies usually, not always, but usually people do them and they're making money elsewhere. I'm trying to make money with the site. I mean, you can make money, but oftentimes you'll get either copycats and or negative SEO, and it's just kind of a pain in the ass. It may still happen, but it's less likely if I don't make the site public. One of my friends, Alex, over at WP Eagle, he does a few just public case studies, and I speculated. I was like, you know what? There's a lot of YouTube traffic going over there, and people are spending a lot of time on it, and that's probably a good sign to Google that people like the site. People are analyzing it, they're clicking the links, they're spending a lot of time, they're going through many of the pages. So I have a hunch that could be like a weird little hack where Alex is getting a benefit from the YouTube traffic in an indirect way. Maybe a few people are buying stuff, but probably not too many. And if you have those positive metrics and people are like clicking through everything and looking all over the site, that's a good sign. All right, I'm going to point Malik towards FAQs. So Malik asks one of the most common questions: what informational versus affiliate content breakdown should a site have? The answer is I recommend 50%. It's nice middle of the road, but you may have other questions that are also very common. So go to nichesiteproject.com/FAQ. I created it just for you. So there's probably questions you haven't even thought of yet that I've already answered there. However, some people will recommend that you have mostly informational content, like 80%. And other people will recommend that you have 80% affiliate content. So it's totally up to you. There's pros and cons to both. Splitting it in the middle kind of balances it out. So I think if there's not any other questions, I am probably going to call it a day here. Tell everyone Happy New Year. Thanks to Adrian and Fred for the super chats. Those are really fun to get because I don't get those that often. Oh, I know everyone else does the they have like the siren alert. So I'll make the noise. So thanks, Adrian and Fred. So much appreciated. I think I actually have that button if I wanted to press it, but I think it's better to make those sounds with your own mouth. And that's just the perfect way to end it. So Happy New Year, Sandro, Hana. Oh, and Matt's on here. I was talking about you, Matt, just a minute ago. Happy New Year, buddy. And I just got back in town, man, and we are just trying to be safe and kind of quarantining. All's well. We've been taking our temperature. Actually, some of our relatives that we were in contact with came down with COVID after we visited them. So technically we're past 14 days with that. But yeah, I'll touch base with you soon, Matt. And I don't know if you heard, I'm doing dry January. Boo. All right. We'll finish it up here. We'll see you next week, the same place.